over Science and Tech Minister's university certificate, as the university it claims to have attended has issued a disclaimer that they never issued a university degree to him. And tonight, we will be getting some explanations as to why prices of cooking gas and some of the scarcity we have seen in also the hike has happened from the presidential villa tonight. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I am Sean Kimberley here in Abuja. Let's get some explanations as to the reason for the scarcity of cooking gas and the price hike that we have seen over the past few days. The group chief executive of the Nigerian Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Mr. Bayo Ojulari, has been speaking after he met with President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa earlier today. He says that the recent scarcity in cooking gas to a temporary loading is responsible by the temporary loading and disruption during the strike action by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, PENGASEN. According to him, the industrial action halted operations for several days and produced an artificial increase in prices. Take a listen to Mr. Ojulari.
I think it was quite unfortunate that the Dangote and PENGASEN issue, led to the strike. And as you know, whenever there's strike and critical staff manning critical facilities are not available, it's almost impossible. In this particular case, we actually lost significant production of almost over 200,000 barrels per day of production that was deferred. We also have gas production that was deferred, and power generation also was impacted. About 1.2 megawatts of power was affected by that strike. But I think I'm very pleased that the federal government, through the leadership of the Federal Minister for Labor and also full support from the National Security Advisor, we're able to pull together everyone into a dialogue and bring everybody to the table. And now there's been a communique that has been agreed on the way forward. We're all very hopeful that everyone will abide by those communique. So since then, we've been able to return quite a number of the production back to status quo. There are one or two areas where we're still trying to catch up. But overall, we are gradually gone back to restore the lost production and the deferments that we have as of today.
So much to talk about. We will be revealing and allowing the man who was at the helm of affairs at the center of the Boko Haram insurgency. He's giving his account in a book, but then he's going to be opening up to us the lesson from a general's account of Boko Haram menace, which has left a scar in the heart of many. Stay with us on the other half of the program. We will be dissecting what has become a big scandal in the Ministry of Science and Technology and the Cabinet of President Bola Tinubu. But before we get into all of that, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
President Bola Tinubu has returned to Abuja after attending a working visit to Lagos. The president arrived in Lagos on the 26th of September after attending the coronation of His Imperial Majesty Olúbàdàn of Ìbàdàn land, Ọba Rashidi Adeolu Ládọjà in Ìbàdàn. While in the nation's commercial capital, President Tinubu engaged with key investors, ministers, and heads of agencies. The governor of Adamawa State, who is also the chairman of the People's Democratic Party PDP Convention Planning Committee, has restated the determination of his team to conduct a free, fair, and transparent elective convention in Ibadan. The planned elective convention in November is expected to usher in a new national working committee for the PDP, which will pilot the affairs of the party into the 2027 general elections and beyond. Addressing members of the protocol subcommittee of the convention in Abuja. Governor Fintiri says he will allow every qualified member of the party to contest for any positions of their choice. Meanwhile, a coalition of northern pressure groups under the auspices of the National Muslim Youth Association is urging the National Assembly to consider a bill before it that seeks to take away the powers of the president and the state governors to appoint chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, at state or federal level. The group blames the lack of transparency and accountability in Nigeria's electoral system on the governors and president, whose political interests, they say, often interfere with those of the electoral umpire. According to the group, the introduction of technologies such as the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, will not give citizens the desired outcomes unless the current structure that allows governors and the president to appoint the heads and senior members of the electoral system is changed. The African Democratic Congress, ANC, has raised concerns for the deteriorating security situation and escalating wave of political violence in Kebbi State, urging action from government authorities and security agencies. This position was made known following a closed-door expanded stakeholders meeting held on Sunday in Kebbi, where key party leaders and members convened to deliberate on the pressing challenges facing the state and to articulate the party's official stance. Lastly, the Nigerian Bar Association NBA Kebbi branch has directed its members to refrain from traveling to 9 local government areas identified as kidnapping hotspots in the state. The chairman of the branch, Aminu Hassan, gave the directive in a statement issued in Kebbi. Hassan says the affected areas include Bagudo, Suru, Kamba in Dandi, Buza, Kangiwa in Ariwa, Dirindaji in Sakaba, Riva, Kanya, and Oje local government areas of the state.
Let's tell you that the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, has been weighing in on the Dangote-Pengassan dispute, labor discussions that have caused some kind of stir, which, some people have blamed that situation and some of the economic situation in the country, especially as regarding the availability and the pricing of gas and petroleum products. At an economic event today in Abuja, the Vice President is cautioning Nigerians to be wary of their actions, which are capable of shutting down the means of economic progress in the country. Take a listen to him.
Aliko Dangote is not an individual, it's an institution. And he's a leading light in Nigeria's economic firmament. And how we treat this gentleman will determine how outsiders will judge us. I wish to call for caution, retrospection, and a deeper sense of patriotism from both the labor and the organized private sector in defining and improving the relationship between labor and industry in the interest of maintaining our steadily improving economic fortunes. It's not about holding the whole nation to ransom because of a minor labor dispute. Nigeria is greater than Pengassan. Nigeria is greater than each and every one of us.
All right, then. We're going to be dissecting a lot of issues and perhaps unraveling some of the inner secrets in a lot of aspects of our nation tonight. So our discussion is on scars, the soldier's account, the public presentation of scars authored by Nigeria's former Chief of Defense Staff, General Irabor, offered a striking moment of national reflection. The book details not just the battles fought in the field, but the quiet struggles within the command and control, the weight of decisions, and the human cost of defending a fragile peace. General Irabor's reflections remind us that behind every operation lies a story of sacrifice and of scars that go beyond the battlefield. But perhaps the day's most unexpected moment from that book launch came from former President Goodluck Jonathan revisiting a chapter of history shrouded in misery, a revelation that reopens questions about trust, negotiation, and the complexity of Nigeria's insurgency. Jonathan's comment underscored the difficult truth about Boko Haram which was never just about poverty or hunger, but a deeper, more ideological conflict. And its public presentation in Abuja brings up the conversation that broaden the perspectives on the issues that have been raised in these long years of insurgent war. Let's speak to the man himself who have authored this book, Scars, Nigeria's Journey, and the Boko Haram Conundrum. General Lucky Irabor, a former Chief of Defense Staff, is live for us here in our studio. Thank you so much, General. It's good to see you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
It looks like you're calmer. You're not being confronted by the burden of war and all of that.
No.
Has it been being out of service?
Well, quite interesting and also relieving. Freer to do what I want, and that's exactly why I had to put pen to paper. And it's been quite an exciting period for the past 2 years.
Interesting. I mean, congratulations too. It was your 60th birthday. This is some kind of a good way to celebrate your birthday.
Precisely.
And it's interesting, some of what you have documented in this book.
Yeah.
I got it just very close. So I was able to read about 4 chapters in it, which, let's say, I picked those areas that I thought were quite interesting. There were areas that, as a journalist, I reported, I've visited myself, the theater of war. I've been to Boko Haram, epicenter of that war in Maiduguri, being around in the night with the soldiers. I've gone to Adamawa. I've flown over Chibok when just about what happened, which is a major issue. Where were you on that day when that Chibok story broke?
Lovely. Thank you very much for the question. And incidentally, as part of the documentations in the book, where I was clearly stated. At the time that this incident happened in April, the night of 15th April 2014, I was then a brigadier general in 3 division. 3 division at the time was only concerned with Bauchi, Yobe, Adamawa, and of course parts of the entire Plateau State and parts of Benue. So then, meanwhile, Chibok happened to be in Borno State, but the general officer commanding 3 division at the time, Major General Zarwa, blessed memory, was tasked to visit Chibok. So I was in Yola when the incident happened, and then 2 days later I was in Chibok to see firsthand what transpired. And a good number of our findings, of course, I documented also in the book. So 2 days after the abduction incident, I visited Chibok, hoping that, of course, the then president was going to visit based on the instructions that were given. It was quite a terrible experience for me as an individual, but of course, it also helped to build my capacity, as it were, in terms of knowledge and awareness regarding the entire scenario, which later I had to confront as theater commander of Operation Lafia Dole. So that's as at the time the incident happened, I was in Yola. But of course, 2 days later, I visited Chibok.
Interesting. You spent 2 years, 145 days as Chief of Defense Staff.
Correct.
Quite an interesting period for you. What would you say is a most troubling period for you as a general, the #1 military officer in the land at the time?
Well, for me, the time I was CDS, of course, security situation across the country was most troubling. But I think the most challenging was the time when we had the incident, involving the train abduction, which, of course, added to the dynamics of the challenges that we were facing at the time. And so all the experiences one had, prior to that time, were not deployed into ensuring that those who were abducted, were rescued. Beyond that, of course, the Northeast operation, was also something that was deep in my mind. in the light of the fact that I spent a greater part of my officership as a Major General in the Northeast. And so, given the outing that I've had before then, I felt that one needed to return to Borno State and, of course, the entire Northeast to ensure that, some of the, operations that were undertaken, we didn't have to lose steam. So, for me as CDS at the time, these were the issues that, but of course, the third leg of it was ensuring that at the Niger Delta, that we improved on the oil production, since that resources for the country can only come mostly from oil production. So we had to also engage with so many stakeholders to ensure that we increase the oil production to be able to optimize the financial accruals to the federal government. So these areas were where I consider to be most challenging for me while serving as the Chief of Defense Staff.
A lot of these brothers, especially those of us who reported some of these issues, security were largely politicized. Yeah. And the military, the soldiers, were being used either for elections or to skew the story. And it was difficult for us to really get a hang of what is really happening. How devastating has politics affected military operations in Nigeria?
Well, that is a very important question that I must say. Every man, every human is a political animal. Soldiers are soldiers who are men and women belonging to a profession that serve as an instrument of policy implementation for the state. So to that extent, because you are subject to a civil authority or the political authority, most times we think that political decisions impact, on military actions, military activities, which is wrongly assessed. But when you're talking about partisan politics, this is where we need to draw a line that soldiers certainly cannot and have never been deployed for partisan politics. But in terms of political policy decisions, of course, that's exactly why, issues of insecurity, every insecurity problem that we have, every violence, every issues that border on violence is as a result of politics. Indeed, that's right, an author says that politics is managed conflict. So, when you are not able to manage conflict, then of course you are failed in politics. So if, the failure of that leads to violence, then of course, and the military is deployed, what are you doing? You are actually trying to, implement political policies, policies that impinge on political decisions, which will help the political class to be able to, gain traction in terms of what their
and one of the reasons why I asked the question is that those who say in the security parlance that the very first few minutes and hours after an abduction are very critical. Yeah. And one of the reasons why the Chibok abduction became more difficult is because of the political leadership body language to that story. Almost want to deny that it never happened. How devastating was that? Well, what politics played, the role politics played on that scenario?
At the time, I could consider myself to be a tactical commander. At the time. So, of course, I also have, a clear understanding, or if you like, a clear reading of the dynamics at play at the time. Don't forget that the politics that we play in Nigeria is a little bit too toxic. And that's also the part of the essence of the book, to say that we need to begin to pivot on some of, the approaches to politicking in Nigeria, such that, our desire, if you like, our objective should be people-centered. Let the people foster this, services we want to provide that, and based on the political leverage that we have, let it be centered on the people and to ensuring that the led are those who benefit maximally. So with that said, of course, at that time, there were a lot of discussions that were tending towards the 2015 elections. And so we began to see that, there were issues that had to do with desiring to, gain upper hand for the 2015 election. So there were, of course, feeling that some form of disagreement, both at the federal level and, of course, at the state level, especially in Borno State at the time, wherein there is a view that, perhaps the, political party at the center at the time was not doing enough to be able to help, the state. So, by and large, that was, what was in the air. But for me, as a person on the ground, of course, there was abduction. So I saw it 2 days after the abduction was. But I think that a more important question is not as to whether the abduction happened or not. Rather, it should be, why was it that there was no sufficient capacity for the responders to be able to do something? This is also part of why I felt that documenting some of those experiences are essential. Because political decisions have a lot of implications for agents of governments that are responsible for policy implementation. So the aggregate of the contributions of each of these establishments is what gives rise to, what you see as security or under security, or if you like, state of insecurity.
Yeah, in this documentation that you're giving,
yes,
what would you say is the major, in your own summary,
yeah,
why has Boko Haram fettered for this long?
Right, so two things. First is that Boko Haram is only, and which I also stated in the book, Boko Haram is only a critical juncture in our development, in our historical journey. The problems of insecurity in Nigeria, which Boko Haram took advantage of, preceded even, our independence. And I try to trace the fact that there has been a lot of disunity in the country, where politicians have never agreed, even before independence and immediate post-independence, which led to the second coup. The second coup, in this case, is January 1966 coup. The first, of course, is the issue of treason against Awolowo, which was in 1962, which led him to be jailed in 1963. You may want to ask yourself, what led to all those that at the time the coup of January 15, 1966 happened, that the country felt disenchanted with the political leaders at the time? Fast forward to what you find even currently, things have not changed. So Boko Haram, coming, at the beginning of the Fourth Republic, was only to take advantage of that disordered political structure that we have, the setting, such that everyone was now looking for how to, gain leverage. And they thought that they could use the political slogan at the time to want to gain their own notoriety. And that, for me, is the greatest challenge that we have, which we must confront as a people. And that is the whole essence of having to document this. To say that we must begin to look for a way, first and foremost, to have a psychological reorientation to how we mitigate conflicts. And then to also begin to see how we can conduct a national reconciliation, because we just need it. And thereafter leading to security sector reforms, political reorientation and political structure, and then good governance enhancement, among several other things which I've documented, which, if we're able to synchronize appropriately, then of course will be leading to a more secure environment, such that when security agencies, the military in particular, and the police, of course, as part of the security sector reforms, policing is a key element. Because without a strong policing infrastructure, then, of course, any effort that is put will be a waste. So the aggregate of all this, of course, with good governance, is what will give us a sense of safety and defense.
So politics will play a major role.
Politics is a critical component.
Politics destroys our security. And politics could...
Politics has destroyed, and politics is what certainly will fix it.
Let me take you. I saw a lot of your personal feeling in this book.
Yeah.
How this affected you personally.
Correct.
How morally you had to take some stand when you're taking some decision.
Correct.
And you spent over 2 years, some days in office. But there are those who will say your leadership and the war against terror reached a plateau rather than a breakthrough. Why so?
Well, for every effort, there are two sides to it. There are those who feel very positively about it. There are those who may feel very negatively about it. So for me, I thought that we had made a serious breakthrough. For me, as CDS, I felt that, what I could consider, at the strategic level, achievement would be that bringing all stakeholders to think, in unison is for me something that is heartwarming any day I think about it. Wherein in issues that confront us, we must be able to, harness the resources available to us, not just in stovepipes, but collectively, knowing that we have a common objective. So if someone thinks that we reached a plateau rather than making a breakthrough, well, that's their own assessment. But then, of course, until you are deeply involved, you may not be able to know what the impact was made.
Well, if you had the opportunity to really redo things, what would you have undone?
Well, I do not think that there's anything I would have done. Rather, I will optimize the actions that I took as serious, and then to also remain very, focused and, I wouldn't want to use the word pungent, but then, poignant rather, on the leadership to say, look, these are the issues. I was firm in bringing to the understanding of the political leadership to say, look, these are the issues, and you must confront them. If these are
were there times the politicians wanted to sway you or to derail you?
I wouldn't say that outright, but of course there were a lot of limitations which I could, as someone who also has knowledge of a little bit of political economies, I should think that there are limitations on the part of the political leadership, such that resourcing for the military and security agencies, one can appreciate the extent that has been, what effort was made and what is left undone. But I mince no words in letting the political authority to know that, look, there are greater need for more resourcing, greater training, greater involvement among several other things that...
the feeling that there are some people cashing in on the insecurity of Nigeria, how true is that?
Well, on the part of the military, that cannot be true. But then, in every war scenario, there's what we call war economy. All right? And during war, it's not just here. Anywhere you find war, you find that the cost of living certainly will skyrocket. The cost of even material, for those who are on the front lines will certainly increase. So there are factors, that many people may not want to consider. But the reality is that there are those who, mount a lot of pressure because the whole essence is for them to also see, what I may call return on investment. There are investment, those who are dealing in arms and ammunition, those who are also dealing in food and other related items of logistics, who want to have, more gains. So the investment in such areas by government, of course, certainly will go into the hands of those war economic profiteers. But whatever it is the sum total of some of these scars, because I also believe that that's also an economic scar, that will make us to begin to rethink, approach of, having to lay our grievances. It must not, our grievances must not tend towards violence, such that there will be carnage, there will be destruction among several
Are
things.
politicians behind our insecurity today?
Well, politicians
Are they fueling it?
They have a hand because of their actions and inactions. And sometimes, and I also, you asked a question which I was addressing, which is also part and parcel of what I've stated in the book. Why Boko Haram activities still persist is there as a sub-theme in one of the chapters. And then what I've just mentioned to you, where some politicians at some point begin for reasons of maybe wanting to gain political leverage, you castigate policies that you do not know about just because there's insecurity, only for you later on to realize, when eventually you win power, to realize that the problem is small. I mean, look at the trajectory of this insecurity. You realize that, the language before you gain power is different from when you gain power. Because the reality is now right.
If you want to say something to set this government on the right path of securing this nation, what would you say to them? Do not politicize security issues. Whether you are the leading political party right now or you are in the opposition, please separate, do not involve, security issues in your partisan political discussions. Because eventually you realize that we need both sides of the eye to be able to, work together to be able to address the issues. But where you want to make it so acerbic, or because you believe that until you put him down and you gain power, for you to be able to gain power, you realize that we'll be running in circles. My final question will be your account in this book. You talked about lack of equipment, weaponry to fight. We spend billions of naira procuring weapons. And a lot of those monies also were stolen. And it was easy to steal weapon money. Why? Why the decadence? Well, first and foremost, maintaining the armed forces, or if you like, security. Security is not cheap. That's the summary I want to give to that. So you must also realize that when a nation is at war, even though in our case this war has not been declared, because, and I say so, and it's also in the book, that there is no legal instrument indicating that Nigeria is at war. There's none. We're only assuming that we are at war. We're only assuming that we're at war. And so is there a need to declare war? Of course there is need to declare war, not just war. So this government needs to declare war? It needs to declare war on bandits? In order to aggregate the elements of state power, direct it to the war effort. What difference will it make? It will make a huge difference, because resourcing, of course, will not be properly channeled. And then accountability frameworks cannot be properly, outlined in such a manner that we're able to see results for some of the expenditures that we make. Will it summarily almost end this war if such a proclamation it will make a significant impact. By the way, let me also say that when I'm talking about the war, it is not just the military line of operation. We're talking about the aggregate of the deployment of the elements of state power beyond just military power that will help us. So in my book, I have canvassed for a pivoting away from the preponderance of military, or if you like, hard power, to utilizing other elements which one could say soft power, but majorly governance, policies, amongst other things that will help us, such that if we're able to reduce the number of out-of-school children, those who are available for criminals to employ, those who do not have jobs, so many other things. Then, of course, we'll be reducing those who perhaps the criminals want to recruit among other things. Any regrets? Oh, no regrets for me at all. No regrets. With your head high? With my head high, my shoulders high. I'm proud to be a Nigerian, and I'm proud to be a soldier. If you had been called to do this again, would you do it? Of course, I would do it over. I mean, shortly before I got retired, during one of my last briefings to the president, I told him that I lose the job I've done since the age of 17 plus. I joined the academy shortly before I turned 18, and I did it all my life. And so I have no other job.
And if by virtue of doing this job, I rose to the rank of general, what else? I mean, I must give back to the country, and that's the reason why I've taken time to document this book. So I'm hopeful that those who are interested in solving problems should read the book. Not those noisemakers who come to begin to disparage efforts that one has made.
General, my salute to you.
Thank you so very much.
Congratulations for your service to the nation. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And congratulations again on your sister's birthday.
Thank you.
It's good to see you.
Thank you.
General Lucky Irabor, retired military general, and the former chief of defense staff who just wrote this book. If you have the time, get a copy. I'm just getting started reading about 3 or 4 chapters of the book. Quite an interesting read, especially for someone who also reported most of the accounts in this book. We take a break, everyone, but when we return, a storm brews at the intersection of academia, politics, and public integrity. Nigeria's Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation, Uche Inaji, is under intense scrutiny following reports that the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, has denied issuing him a university degree. Barrister Inibe Effiong, a lawyer and a rights activist, will be joining me after this break, everyone. So let's get straight to it. There is a storm brewing, a big scandal in the cabinet of President Bola Tinubu. The Minister of Science and Technology and Innovation, Mr. Uche Inaji, is under intense scrutiny following reports that the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, after an FOI request by an online newspaper, Premium Times, denied issuing the degree certificate linked to him. The controversy now echoing through the halls of the parliament and across social media raises critical questions about record verification, credibility in public office, and the due diligence of government vetting processes. While the minister insists his records are authentic and duly submitted to the Senate during his screening, UNN's official statement tells a different story. One of the minister's aides has been speaking on this matter. Let me allow you to listen to him, what he said.
Let it be on record that the Honorable Minister Chief Uche Geoffrey Naji graduated from UNN in 1985. The university officially confirmed this in writing in December 2023. It's reflected in his 1985 convocation brochure, which remains part of UNN's permanent archives. Any other claim or document to the contrary is false, malicious, and politically motivated.
All right, there you heard what the aide to the Minister of Science, Chairman Ajay, said about the role that the UNN is playing in all of this. So what are the real facts here? There are a lot of civil society organizations that are weighed in on this, and there seems to be some quiet and silence from the presidency and the federal government on this matter. Let's speak with a lawyer and a rights activist, Mr. Inibe Effiong. He's live from our Lagos studio to speak on this matter. Mr. Effiong, thanks so much indeed for joining us tonight. What do you think? There is an FOI request, there's a response from the UNN, but the records are totally confusing. And there are those who are saying the minister may have failed a particular course in school, and leading to the fact that they saw the pathway entering the school, but they never saw his exit or graduation from the school. That is what the records and the reporting from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, is telling us. What are your views on this?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Let me even start from the comments made by the gentleman, the aide of the minister. I listened to the press interview earlier. He said a couple of things, but there is one point that he did not make. Maybe I did not hear him. You can correct me, but I did not hear anywhere where the gentleman stated clearly or categorically that the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology was issued with a Bachelor of Science degree in any course. All he said was that he graduated in 1985. What does that entail? If you say someone has graduated, are you saying the person has written all the courses, all the examinations, and has passed? Are you saying the person has convocated? Are you saying the person was issued with a certificate? I can speak to you today as the legal practitioner, not because I was admitted into the University of Uyo to study law, no. Not because I undertook several courses in law, no. Not even because I attended law courses, but because in addition to my admission, in addition to my attending courses, undertaking examinations and passing same, the university deemed me fit in character and learning and issued me with an LLB. The same for the Nigerian Law School, which I attended. So when he said the minister graduated, why did he not proceed to say that the minister was issued with a certificate, which is what the contention is? Now let us even go to what the issues are. What is not disputed is that Mr. Uche Naji indeed was offered admission by the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. His matriculation number, 1981 30725. These facts have been stated by the Vice Chancellor of the university. The question is, did he graduate? If the answer is in the affirmative, was he issued a certificate? Now, beyond even the Premium Times report, because they want to make this simply about, oh, Premium Times reported. Don't forget that when this same minister was nominated for this ministerial position by the president, after he had failed in his bid to occupy the office of governor for the gubernatorial position in Enugu State, there was a report that there were issues with the certificates. And it was reported by the People's Gazette that when he ran for governor, in his INEC form, nomination form, the qualification that he stated was secondary school. He never indicated, according to the People's Gazette, that he had a university degree or that he went through the NYSC. Has that been debunked? The answer is no. Now, 2 years after, in 2025, they are telling us he graduated. Where is your certificate? You are the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Sheun. I don't know if Nigerians underscore the gravity of this matter. We are not just dealing with any random ministry. We are dealing with a portfolio that speaks to the innovation of the country.
Quickly, if you say where is the certificate, we gain access to a collage of what the minister submitted to the Senate during screening. So there is a certificate. Now, and some of these things are tendered under oath, except if you now say he has perjured himself and you are saying some of these documents are not factual or they are not real or they are fake. But that is a portfolio that a minister, a collage of what the minister sent to the National Assembly, which included an NYSC discharge certificate, included a university certificate. Yes, he has one, and is public.
Interesting. So, while preparing for this interview, I meticulously and indeed dispassionately reviewed the certificates in circulation, which you have just projected. Sheun, let me start from the correspondence dated 2nd of October 2025, signed by Professor Simon Otwanya, a legal practitioner, who is the Vice Chancellor of the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. In his written correspondence to Premium Times, he stated inter alia, flowing from above, the University of Nigeria and Nsukka did not, Sheun, the phrase did not, is capitalized, is in caps, and consequently could not, again, capitalize, have issued the purported certificate or at all in July 1985 to Mr. Geoffrey Uchechukwu Naji, the current Minister of Science and Technology. Now, I also have here the purported Bachelor of Science in Microbiology / Biochemistry in circulation. You can look at it. I believe you are projecting it. Now, this is a certificate that he claims he obtained upon his graduation in July 1985. This is a certificate that he purportedly submitted. He is said to have submitted to the Nigerian Senate. The question is, did the university issue this document? The Vice Chancellor has said on record, I have shown you the correspondence, that they did not issue it. All that he said, I've said, and that is why I started on that note, is that he graduated. I didn't hear him say he was issued this certificate said to have been submitted to the Senate.
So
this is not just about university certificate.
There was a defense also in court linked to Minister Naji as to the fact that the university did not issue the certificate in which he tendered. Well, I'm wondering who actually issued it. But bear in mind that every person that gets to that point of being nominated for a ministerial position has to go through a scrutiny by security agencies.
Yes.
Could he have been an oversight, or what exactly could have happened along the line?
So I will quickly answer your question.
Scrutiny, all of that.
I will answer your, but please permit me, because in answering that, to also introduce that of the NYSC. Because the minister also, according to correspondence he said to have submitted to the Senate, he said he went through the NYSC. Now, I have here the certificate of national service, said that purportedly speaks to his attendance or participation in the NYSC scheme. Sheun, if you look at the document dated 15 May 1986, it is said to have been signed by a designation national director. The investigation has now unraveled that the signature of the purported national director is the one of one Colonel Brimo, Animation Brimo. Now, as at the time that the minister claimed he enrolled for the NYSC, in 1985, the person who ought to have signed this document was not Colonel Animation Brimo, not, but Colonel Edet Akpan. Now, guess what? Even the number on the certificate, it has the digits of certificates issued within that period. They are without alphabet. It don't start with an A. That is not the end of the matter, Sheun. By this same document, it purports that he enrolled for the NYSC 3 months before his purported graduation from University of Nigeria and Nsukka in July 1985. Now, how did all this escape the scrutiny of the Nigerian State Security Service? Sheun, as I speak to you, the State Security Service has maintained a conspiratorial silence, conspiracy. Now, Premium Times has also stated, as corroborated by People's Gazette, that when his name was submitted for screening, the NYSC had flagged this purported document and distanced itself that they cannot speak to the genuineness of same. How come that the Nigerian Senate cleared him, allowed him to become a minister? If he actually participated in the NYSC, I participated. I served in the Ministry of Justice on those states. You can walk into the ministry today. You can go to the NYSC today. You can see pictures that I
give me a moment. Just give me a moment, please. We need to go on another break. But when we return, I would like to know, for a benefit of the doubt, maybe the minister could just come out and explain himself. He would have classmates, he would have people he graduated, maybe pictures of his graduation. It's important to clear the air. The presidency is not talking about. This is a big slap, isn't it? Because we've seen this in the past. How come people rise to this position with fraudulent certificate, allegedly, at the moment, until these things are clear? We're going to break, and when we return, our final and closing moment with Barrister Effiong. Thanks so much, everyone. We're totally out of time. Let's allow Mr. Inibe Effiong to give us his closing thought on this matter, just in about 30 seconds. What do you think as a nation or as the presidency, the government of the day, how should this be handled? It's going to be a total shame if this comes to all truth.
This minister must be immediately suspended. Pending conclusion of investigation, he must be referred to a law. He has to surrender himself tomorrow morning to the police for investigation for forgery. Otherwise, they will be telling Nigerians that we are running a government of certificate forgers, that we are running a government of criminality. The allegations remain allegations, but the government must show willingness to investigate it. The government must show willingness to address it. We cannot have a minister of innovation whose innovation is now being linked to alleged certificate forgery. A minister of technology whose technological skill is being now purportedly attributed to forgery. So this is an embarrassment on our country. And President Tinubu has an opportunity to tell Nigerians that it's not running a cartel, that this is truly a government that cares about the law.
Thank you so much for your thought tonight. And that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimaloe. God bless Nigeria.